Nelson Mandela. What if the greatest lesson in freedom came from a man who spent 27 years locked in a concrete cell and then walked out with the courage to forgive his captors? Nelson Mandela, known globally as a symbol of peace and freedom, spent nearly 3 decades in prison for his fight against the apartheid system in South Africa. From 1964 to 1982, he was confined to Robben Island, where he lived in a cell barely large enough for a man to lie down, spending his days breaking rocks in the searing limestone quarry. The objective of the prison was not just to punish, but to break his spirit and erase his influence. The guards were often cruel, and the prisoners, including Mandela, were given the hardest labor and the worst food. Any normal person would have been consumed by hatred, bitterness, and the desire for revenge. But this is where Mandela's story transcends politics and becomes purely motivational. He understood that true freedom is a state of mind. He realized that if he allowed hatred to consume him, the prison guards would have successfully imprisoned his soul long before his body was released. Mandela made a powerful, conscious choice. He decided to use the prison not as a place of suffering, but as a school for leadership. He began by learning the language of his captors, Afrikaans. He spent his time patiently educating his fellow inmates, turning their cell block into a clandestine university. But most radically, he started extending courtesy and respect to his guards. He didn't do this to gain favor, but because he saw that the guards were also trapped by the system of apartheid. This act of forced, consistent empathy had an astonishing effect. As his release approached, Mandela didn't focus on retribution. Instead, he famously stated, "As I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew that if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison." When he became president, instead of dismantling the institutions of his former oppressors, he focused on reconciliation. He brought his white former jailers into his life, including the head warden of Robben Island, and used the power of shared humanity, even famously wearing the jersey of the overwhelmingly white Springbok rugby team, to unite a fractured nation. The motivational lesson from Nelson Mandela is profound. The greatest strength is not found in fighting your enemy, but in understanding them. True resilience means cultivating inner peace and strategic forgiveness, refusing to let the injustice done to you dictate the future you build. The moment you choose forgiveness over bitterness, you gain a moral and psychological freedom that no jail cell can ever take away.